What's up, y'all? Episode 6, Canna Say Something. I am Andrew Ward, aka the Canna Writer, checking in. I just let my hair down and I'm feeling wild tonight. I don't know why I just said that, but I'm just gonna roll with that shit anyway. I'm really excited about this episode. It's someone that you probably haven't seen from any of the cannabis podcasts before. I'm actually willing to bet that that's probably the case because it's not really someone that is directly in the cannabis space. And that's kind of the goal of Canna Say Something. We're, gonna feature the ones that you know, and maybe some ones on more the fringe of the cannabis community because all of them make up this weird and ever-growing culture, and today's guest is no different. I'm actually really excited about him. His name is Effy. He is an independent professional wrestling star. If you've been following the independent wrestling scene in the past 5 years or more, you've seen that Effy has really blown it open in a lot of ways. Not only has he helped spearhead the LGBTQIA plus inclusivity movement in the in the wrestling space, but he's also showing that you don't have to sign with a major promotion to be a success. He doesn't have to sign with WWE or All Elite Wrestling to make a six-figure income and live. What it really takes is brand management, knowing about ROI, knowing how to connect with your fans, and really just bringing it all together just like in any other business. So I think whether you have a care in the world about wrestling or not, whether you have a care in the world about LGBTQIA inclusivity, which that one you should definitely have some care about, but somehow say you don't have a care about it, I still think you're going to come away with a lot to take away in this episode from Effy because he teaches about the importance of having merchandise, connecting with brands, connecting with your audience, and the success that comes from that. And not only that success, but also how you can help bring it to the next level, or bring it not only to the next level for yourself, but bring it to the rest of your peers so that everyone in the industry improves and gets better. I think that's something that the cannabis community has a lot of the commitments and convictions to, but we're also seeing that kind of fade away as the industry becomes more of a commodity and a mainstream thing. So it might be a good reminder to listen to what Effy's doing, but it also might be a good idea to take some notes about how it could also help your own brand and build yourself up. I know I came away with a few ideas, and I'm really excited about this one. Be sure to also take away his tips on social media success. Effy has been killing it on Twitter, Instagram, and especially Twitch. These are all platforms that are really making a lot of money for not only professional wrestlers, but just independent performers alike. Effy has grown so popular through being an internet sensation that just an hour after our interview at the Melrose Ballroom on September 27th, I believe, we'll put the right date if that's not there, but on that date, just an hour after our interview, he beat Matt Cardona for the Internet Championship. It's been a buzz on the internet, of all places, what a shock. And just in true Effy form, after the fact, he went for a photo shoot walking around Queens, and how you know that he isn't from New York, or maybe just the fact that he's that hardcore and willing to be risking his life for a death match, as well as sitting on the stairs of a New York City subway in very little clothing. That's always a risky move. I condone everything that Effy does except for that. Don't sit on the subway steps in New York, even if you got full layers of clothes on. But anyway, he's ballsy. He's ballsy with his brand. He's ballsy with his wrestling and even his photography. Effy is a great inspiration. A great conversation we had as well. We talked about a ton of stuff, including what the world of wrestling has looked like in the past 10 years and how it's really evolved to be a much better place. So, like I said, whether you like wrestling or not, you should definitely check this one out. Effy is a great interview, a great person, and one you should be on the lookout for. Episode 6, Can I Say Something? Here's Effy. Effy, thank you so much for being here. I feel like the cannabis community might not fully know you, but the wrestling fans that follow me do, and we're excited to have you. And I think by the end, the cannabis community is going to understand why we're having you on this show. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, I hope the cannabis community wants to learn about me. Wrestling fans have really brought me into their cannabis circle. There's a lot of crossover, and I've very much enjoyed learning more about the process and the legalities of cannabis in America from wrestling fans because they know a lot of stuff. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of people like yourself, the multi-hyphenates in a lot of ways when you look at just your interest, your experiences, your success so far. I'd love to ask what came first, was it wrestling? Was it marijuana? Was it your sexuality? What really kind of brought everything together to start bringing Effy to what we're seeing today?
I think I had to come to a conclusion that all these different segmented portions of my life that I had, where I would play in bands from high school onward through college, I was running a moving company, a logistics business, a shipping company out of Florida for almost 8 years. That was a full-time gig for me in between wrestling as I started down that path. And I've also done things like working for big bands like Hootie and the Blowfish, interning with them, doing merch for them, doing online for them, doing social media for them. And in wrestling, when I first came in, I think feeling like a bit of an outsider, whether it's because of your sexuality or just being a little bit weird, you don't want to step on too many toes. But what I found is like the more toes I started stepping on with the skills that I was bringing in and saying, wait a second, I have a 4-year PR degree. I have business experience. I've hired and fired. I know how HR works. I know how to work with people. I know how to make sure people are getting ROI on what they're spending. And I know that that works in doing the right thing to keep people around in business. So when you translate those things to wrestling and you finally go, wait a second, all the things you have are skills that are valid here. Why aren't you capitalizing on everything? And it's just because you think, well, I don't come 100% from this world, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe someone knows better than me. But the more you speak up and the more you bring these things in, you just find out that like people don't quite understand, or people didn't know, or people hadn't thought of something that way. And so the more I spoke, it seemed like there became more benefit coming off of me speaking up or doing things the way I would do them in a business sense. And when promotions and other wrestlers and people see that there's a reward beyond just, hey, fun match, fun segment, very entertaining, when there's a reward to the show of being able to check in with people, being able to know that your locker rooms are good, and that people are being supportive and that we're taking care of each other, that translates bigger into longevity than just having the biggest, flashiest match of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So you brought the business side to the performance side. Would that be a correct way of kind of broadly summarizing it?
Yeah. When I was running the moving company, I'm GM of a moving company. It's a big franchise system. There's, a lot of rules to follow and a lot of things I had to do that I wouldn't particularly enjoy doing personally. And I think I ran into that rut of I didn't want to do these things anymore because all this big business stuff felt evil. The way I had to treat people objectively when they had messed up or done something wrong in a business that is high risk or high liability like that, I learned how to translate those things into softer skills that really help out with when people get in these personal spats. In wrestling, it is such a personal thing, whether or not you're performing, and it takes a lot of you that these people skills that I had from dealing with unruly customers or dealing with people that I'd hired or had to fire or had to mold or had to help grow. It sounds like such corporate jargony stuff, but like these are skills that really work in creating a safer workplace.
Yeah.
And even though we're crazy outlaws, we're wrestlers, we're pro wrestlers, we're wild, having a locker room that is, adapted in a way where you don't feel like you're going to be taken advantage of, or you don't feel like there is a level of competition where there's sabotage for you, and having just certain standards of acceptable human behavior and learning how to navigate that with every type of person. Because usually with some of these people, the only thing we have in common is that we're wrestlers.
100%. Yeah.
And we are from very different worlds, but that center of respect, it's really translated well to, instead of being, hey, during the week, Taylor is going to be a manager for 50 hours and have to work Saturdays sometimes and take every call at every time of day. But when I'm wrestling, it's segmented. They were always the same person. They were always the same thing. Effy working out a deal or a sponsorship or working up a contract with a company or working something out, it's the same Effy that's getting suplexed on his head. It's the same Effy that's getting wild. And I learned that I don't benefit from segmenting those things anymore. I benefit from constantly being whoever I feel like being at that time in whatever mood I'm in. And it's protected me in a way because I was coming in very smart and educated and college educated and business savvy and still nervous to step on toes. And this is such a, for as big as wrestling feels, it is a very tight knit community. And for people to gain a little confidence in how they market themselves or sell themselves or understand the relationship between promoter and star and what your role is, and that this is a business, that emotionally we all want to live our dreams. We all want to do, we want to have our moments and have a time, but going, if I pull my emotion out for 1 second, they are looking for a business transaction that benefits them. I want it to benefit me. How do we both win? And when people approach that with the skill they have in wrestling or hear it that way and they've never heard it like that before, they find that like both sides win and everybody's a little happier. But historically, we've all been looking at each other like competition instead of going, how can we make the show on a whole really good? And when we're supportive of each other and show each other these tricks and teach each other, how to make a little money and how to do things and how to approach, negotiating
Yeah.
in a polite way and having business conversations and understanding that everything is not a personal attack and taking things into your heart,
There can
they've
be
never heard
constructive
that.
criticism.
Yeah, I really was talking for a long time there, but I felt like
It's
it was necessary discussion to give. I like to make sure I'm looking at everything from all angles, and I like to make sure that if I'm trying to give out information, and this goes for everything, but especially in wrestling, if they are not comprehending the information, if they're not understanding what's coming out of me and what I'm trying to teach or express, it doesn't matter. And so that communication line, like I always have to make sure we're covering all points.
And
I
it's a
don't
lot
want
of communication, but it's also a lot of communication that needs to be done because it's for decades, that, I mean, wrestling came out of the carnival background. There was a lot of the deception in the performers. And, it seems like you're helping bridge that information gap that, they really didn't have for the longest time. It
and
led to a lot of wrestlers in the past, like having a lot of hardships afterwards.
right. Or understanding that, like, why weren't we talking to each other? Why weren't we having conversations? And they don't have to be conversations of like, you got to go get money. It's conversations of, hey, here's what you brought to this show right now. If you're looking to make more or do this, here are the things you have to do. And not everybody is ready to go full-time nose to the grindstone. When I left my job, I said, I can't do it anymore. I couldn't walk inside anymore. And I was making decent money in wrestling every weekend and working as much as I could. But my priority then was my salaried position running this business because I had a responsibility to the guys that were working for me and coming in for me. When I quit, the pandemic hit right away. Like it was, within 3 weeks of each other,
What time?
the world shuts down. But what I found was my whole job was being adaptable in a company like a moving company, in an industry like that, where the possibilities of something going wrong are endless. There's a infinite choice of things to go wrong. And moving that adaptability to going, hey, you're this full time now. There's no way to do any of these other things. How does this make money when that's all you have to do? Because I just couldn't go work and get a regular job then. I was
Right.
at a place mentally where I was like, I can't walk
You're
in
full
for
in
anyone
on
else
this now.
anymore. Because when I've walked in for myself in wrestling, even though it's these little weekend moments, I got to rush back. I don't have time to sleep. I have to go right to work. I was still doing really well when I was able to put myself into me. And it's not a super selfish thing, but when people see your hustle and see the way you approach things, and you're not afraid to say, hey, look, this is something I'm doing right now that's benefiting me, whether it be Twitch or whether it be convincing Nick Gage to get a cameo.
Yeah.
Nick Gage has done extremely well in cameo because he's authentic. He is the real deal all the time. He is always Nick Gage, but he is very supportive of the people that support him.
Absolutely.
And when I see him at shows giving genuine interest to people, this is a guy who is cutting people up with pizza cutters and bleeding and falling through glass all the time. But he's genuinely interested in catching up with people he's seen at shows for years. He wants to check in on you. He wants to know about you. And now these people have kind of a direct line to him that I had been using in an effective way. And I go, you're authentic, Nick. The people love you. And you've not ever given into a lot of long form interviews and things. And now they just get that quick moment with Nick Gage. And I know he's benefited from him. And I hope it gives guys more of a confidence to go like, well, I don't think I'm a cameo or this or this. And it's like,
Why
man,
not?
even if you're doing 3 a month and you've got 3 people asking you,
It's extra income.
it is extra income. And
It's
you're
extending
building
your
a
relationship.
network of, hey, if you put if you don't just go, hey, it's Ray Romano, I'm doing a cameo, happy birthday, Linda. All right. If you take a minute and a half to actually talk through and have a conversation, and people come to me for advice on there, I'm sure they do the same with Nick and with a lot of people, taking a genuine moment with someone is going to lead to people not being afraid to spend money on a shirt with you, not being afraid to pay a ticket and leave their comfortable house. Someone asked me yesterday this. I'm adding questions to your interview.
I'm okay with that. We like to let this spiral. That's why we like the guest
Yeah.
talk.
They said, do you worry more about wrestling for the people watching on the stream, or do you worry about the people in the room? I said, well, the effort for me to watch a stream is nothing. I have my phone all the time. I have computers at home. I have TVs with everything logged in. But the effort to leave your home, leave your couch, take the transport, drive your car, pick your friends up, have to get an Uber because you had a couple beers. The effort to be in that room with us is always higher. And what I've learned is the cameras will find you. Those moments will find you. But when you can get the people behind you in a room, that translates really well to anyone tuning in because they're going to pay attention because clearly something is exciting people in the room. And in Los Angeles the other day, my music got messed up. And so the stream could not hear my music, but they could see the room going crazy. And the internet was, I can't hear Effy's music. I can't hear Elton John. I can't hear Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which is an important part, I believe, of how I enter the room. And it sends a very signifying message of it's my art. It's not yours. I'll go home and I'll be just fine. Seeing people be frustrated that they couldn't participate in that was almost more exciting to me because I said, well, they do give a damn. They do care. And knowing that when those things weren't there and those standards that I know I enjoy, when other people are saying we missed out on that and that made us mad, I know they'll come back for more and I know that they're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And
They want the full experience over and over.
they want the full metric and they want the parts and to it's just exciting to see people want to pay attention to your details, to pay attention to you and to want to be out there with you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've touched on a lot of great things on a lot of areas that already that I want to dive in on. Start a little bit just with the origin story for the folks that don't know Effy at home just yet. How long were you working the full-time job when you were wrestling? And was wrestling always the end game? Did you want to get into this? When did that all come together for
Okay, so everything I'm about to say is real, and I'm going to give you the short version because
you?
it's incredible.
Let's hear it.
I graduated from college right on time. I left with, a lot of confusion about my sexuality, and I had not held back on myself, but I had not been public or owning of who I really was.
And what year was this, sorry?
This is 2012 when I graduated,
Okay.
and I had been working at moving companies on the trucks since I was 16. As soon as I could get out on trucks and make that much cash in a day, just using my body and physically wearing myself out, and then also being able to sort of work in the homes of you're with these people all day. You have their priceless possessions, whether it's a crappy bookcase, it's their bookcase and it can't get messed up. And you get to build the trust with these people. You get to do the right thing and go, I know you think we're shady. I know you think movers are terrible. Look what we did. And then giving that authenticity to it, you go, okay, well, they're coming back to me. They're understanding me. As soon as I got out of college, though, it was like that's the only thing I knew was moving. And I got offered a job, and they said, within 2 weeks, can you move to Florida? So I did this almost a full year, and I had a lot of money, and I drank a lot, and I would drink a bottle of scotch a night if I wanted to, and I would do what I wanted. I would go to the clubs. I'm right back in a college town again after leaving Columbia at USC. Tallahassee and Florida State University are a lot similar, and so I was still not confronting who I was because now I'm working this big boy business job. I can't be a 22-year-old in charge of 30 to 40-year-old men who traditionally are not really going to be into what I'm doing and just be a full-on queer dancing icon. And you continue hiding. And I think you hit a breaking point where, like, the truth is, I was always a wrestling fan. I never thought there was a possibility to be a wrestler. And I think, circumstance happens. I took a ton of acid on my own and I got messed up and I went on a trip for like 5 days. It was extremely strong acid. It was a lot of acid.
Wow.
And I tripped and tripped and tripped. And they even drug tested me at that point, my work, and it came up clear because I just sweat for 5 days. And they let me keep my job and they worked with me and I came out of it and I said, well, I have a lot more time and a lot more income now. I came clean with myself. I said, something's not right if I have to hide from myself this much. I came out to everyone. I came out to my parents. I came out and I said, this is who I am. And I said, I had a vision while I was tripping of you can't be a wrestler. You can't just do that. There's a ceiling to things of you can go do it in a barn maybe, but you can't be John Cena. John Cena might not even be real. And these things sound crazy, but it was my motivation there to just poke the bubble and go, well, first I have to feel if the ropes are real. So I found this training with a guy, Steve Hetrick, who at the time was doing a gimmick called White Trash Fred, WTF, what the fuck. You may have to censor that.
No, let him fly on here.
And he trained me in a field for a year out there in the middle of Florida, outdoors. Oof. Really rough. You learn how to deal with the heat.
That's an environment.
There's no hiding from being exhausted or being messed up. And, you're out there training 5, 6, 7 hours. Every weekend I was driving out 2 hours to do this. I'm driving home. I'm going to work the next day. I got to a point where I go, I think I've learned as much as I can here. And I started sort of just like scheming my ways onto shows. I didn't come from a real background of training. I didn't come from this place, but I had a PR degree. I had motivation. I had a little bit of money for my job that I could put into myself. And I sort of came out gun swinging. And I was weird and I wasn't from wrestling and I wasn't taught the same way at these schools that they're taught of, keep your mouth shut and keep it quiet and don't do it. And I sort of came in like a bomb blast. And I think people at first, and I lean into this more now, I was coming in a way that was very big and exciting. And a lot of people don't like stepping on toes in wrestling. So I got a lot of flack at first. And this Effy, and he's running is this and this. Is he a bastard? Is he a diva? Is he this? Even before I was really translating with crowds. But as more of these sort of promotions that were taking risks on things that were definitely pro wrestling, but were willing to go like, we'll take a little looseness on it and say, do whatever you want. We trust you to do it. You're wild. You're being crazy. then it really started connecting on a big level with people. And it was me sort of obviously going to work, but it was a therapeutic way for me to get through who I was as a person now. I was confronting a lot of things starting in South Georgia and Florida and Alabama,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
going to these shows and getting reactions that at first were negative, but over time, the third, fourth month I was booked there, people who would have screamed slurs at me were buying shirts. Dads who would have never wanted to talk to me, their kids only wanted Effy stuff. They're having to come to me, and I'm getting stronger and stronger reactions that people just can't believe. And they go, well, it's a fluke, or it's this, or he just does dumb things, or he just does that. But as you continue, like I said, to earn it every night, and you continue to explore and poke these different bubbles where you go, I just wanted to run the ropes. I just wanted to be in an actual match. I just wanted to be on a good show. And everything keeps getting conquered. As I've continued to poke the bubbles of things, people go, well, you should be careful before you do this. The amount of times I've been told that
Oh, yeah.
is endless. And I'm not saying go against advice, but I'm saying ask yourself if the advice is valid, because the times where I've trusted myself, tonight I'm seeing that Matt Cardona is in the building, right?
Mm-hmm. Michael Cardona is your boyfriend.
Michael Cardona, my boyfriend called him, who people may know. He worked for Vince McMahon at WWE, WWF, as many people know it, because they don't care anymore, because there's no reason really to. He worked there for 14 years, and he has been let go, and he's having a moment, and he wanted to have a match with Nick Gage, which he was seeking out Nick Gage. Nick Gage was not seeking out him. And he's doing an announcement tonight or something. I have nothing to do with what he's doing. They have never paid me enough to be near that cornball stuff. It is.
Well, to be fair, he was one of the guys who innovated the whole social media in wrestling, though, too, right?
But there is always the asterisk to what he is doing. And now what I'm saying is, when he is coming into our world here, and he is seeing that we are able to sort of blur the lines and break the rules. And when he got over by breaking the rules and having a YouTube, it's now what the same WWE superstars are dealing with Twitch. And, personally, I know a lot of people in the Twitch office because I have a Twitch account that holds people's attention. It may not be the biggest thousands of people Twitch account, but people come to me every week. I have a show. I stream with people. I watch wrestling.
Viewers.
I put people over. And what the point I'm really getting at is that when he got in trouble for breaking the rules, all of wrestling is sort of that way. They give you the rules because they got yelled at for breaking the rules, so they didn't break the rules, and the next time. And the more we sort of put in these people's heads that there's consequence, instead of letting people reach out and going, hey, I'm an artist in a sense. I know you guys have done well in wrestling before. The management in these companies most of the time is on a particular track, and they go, you need to listen to us. We know how this works. We know what this is. Every time I've broken those rules and trusted what I thought our audiences were doing and paid attention to who and what was going on instead of how things should be or how things were, it's worked for me. And so when I see guys like him, Matt Cardona has been tweeting about me all the time, because it is soul eating to know that when you broke the rules and then bent your knee and said, yes, sir, and you could have maybe said, well, fuck you, I'll go do this and see what happens. The indie revolution could have happened back then if he had the cojones to step up and say, no, this is actually the new thing. And guys like Adam Cole have now turned that and said, hey, I'm making more than Vince is paying me in a year. Folks, listen up. Adam Cole is making more than people are paying him in a year on Twitch. He is reaching more people. He is also promoting the product. Vince has also turned down money to stay with Twitch, turned down huge money. And Adam Cole said, no, I'm going to bet on me. AEW may be the new thing. They may say, well, they're only 2 years in. They're going to shoot it all and they're going to be done. And they'll be done in 5 years. I'll have nothing left. But he said, no, this is changing. We have a company now that is on TV, which I think cable television is absolutely dead. Even streaming now is a very confusing time, because information is going to flow freely and we can't stop that from happening no matter how hard we try. But, they're still making a little money with TV.
Sure.
Seeing that there's someone who goes, hey, you know what? You're allowed to make money on your own. You're allowed to make money on your own time. And it helps us because you're keeping the attention of our viewers who feel a closer connection. They're more likely to come and see Adam Cole in person, which translates well for Tony Khan. And he wins because he gets to make money. He's happy with the money he makes here, and he's not held back. Who would have guessed that doing good business on both sides and having flexibility helps both sides want to work together harder? It is an exciting time for that, because when Matt Cardona, I almost called him Michael Cardona, when Matt Cardona didn't take it by the balls and say, you know what, Vince, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make money, it led to it being a longer delay to that decision being more meaningful. And who would have guessed If he would have said, fuck you, Vince, Ring of Honor may have stepped up and kept their stride instead of being on at 2 a.m. and really trying to build back. There are times where big moves could have been made that could have benefited everyone from the top down. And now that guys aren't scared to do that, I have to hold steady on the line to say, if I truly believe what I'm saying, which is you don't need the elbow rub, you don't need the distribution, you don't need the handhold, I don't need AEW, WWE, ROH superstar next to my name to be a certified draw who pays my bills and is going to buy a house within the next year in an area where they're not cheap.
Yeah.
The facts are that if I don't hold my line and be a little stubborn, I'm going to not only not prove it to them what I am saying, but I'm also not going to be able to prove it to myself.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, you know, kind of for the people that haven't followed around wrestling, you know, we're seeing a massive revolution probably in the last 10 years with the independent scene.
Yeah, I would say clearly in that last 5, it's definitely changed a lot. And I think what surprises people the most is we're taking direction from people, you know, across the board. We work with a lot of guys who are agents or who are coming in to help locker rooms and help pace shows that did really well in a certain time period and did really well in a certain place, but they're not catching up to how fast this stuff is moving, how fast our audiences are changing. The most confusing thing I think that they see is like the guys who've really gone out on a limb and done things that old heads and vets would have been like, no, maybe don't do that. They have been able to find an audience that isn't necessarily pulling from a larger cable audience that's typically watching wrestling every week or tuning into a particular product. Some of these people are appearing out of nowhere. And a lot of us have started to learn that like these people coming in that are coming for that good time, they're coming to be entertained. They may not know all the history of everything. They may not follow us on all Twitter. They may not tweet about WWE every day like Becky Lynch fan 608 with the Fiend profile picture, but they are spending money with us. They're coming in and they're enjoying themselves and they're coming back. And those fans are disappearing. I mean, they're appearing out of thin air instead of being shared amongst other things.
One of the big things from the independent scene, you know, obviously you've been one of the big champions of it, is, you know, just the more inclusivity of it, be it LGBT wrestlers, just women-based wrestlers and not being just sexualized, you know, people of color. We're seeing a lot more of the talent, a lot more focus, you know, you're with the Wrestling is Gay, making gayer campaigns, you know, kind of talk about, you know, coming from those first few months, you said, of people that were throwing slurs, and now you largely have these large white audiences chanting, you know, daddy, when they're like these straight white kids that otherwise a couple years ago might have been, you know, that homophobic asshole.
I've always, I think from my PR background, it's just like, I've always been a person who wants to like poke people a little, as I kind of said, but not in a bad way, but sort of poke conversations out and force a little bit of communication. And what I was noticing was like, these people who typically would never say things like this were coming to me, you know, in private moments or in personal moments or at the merch table and having really open conversations for people I just wouldn't expect. And the more I got into it, they were saying, you know, one time someone said to me, a promoter said, well, you do bring in all the gay people. And I said, no, man, I bring in people who are learning how much fun it is to hang out with gay people. And they're seeing the spirit we're bringing in and the vibration that for a while people were just scared. I think I look at it like the WWE, you know, they did the Billy and Chuck thing and they said they checked in and they said they did all this. And they got the backlash, deservedly so, but they are a little aloof to these things. And I think instead of going, hey, how do we approach this respectfully and try this again? They just said, we're not going to put our toe back in the water. It was very cold when we did it. And for us to come in and me to be sort of a softer version of, if you mess up around me, I can help you and educate you and we can have a light conversation to where when you get around people who don't need you mispronouncing them, don't need you going, you know, are you this, and asking these questions, having people learn from us in a more lighthearted way and forcing that conversation in times where they're going, I respect your wrestling, I respect your character, I respect you on these levels. And I go, well, good. Now let me connect with you on this level. It's laying the groundwork for a lot of people who wrestling is not included, not only feeling safe to come, but feeling safe to participate in. And when you have people who've had different struggles and different problems and come up in different ways, they add value to the stories, they add value to the drama, they add value and vision to things that other people don't have perception of. And we've done a lot of stories in wrestling that keep repeating. And it's nice to be able to bring people in who have this point of view that isn't my own and it isn't their own. And it's being able to relate those emotions that way has so much longevity. Someone said to me the other day, it was a person I met, they didn't know who I was, but we were talking because I had my Wrestling is Gay shirt on. He said, man, I did TV advertisement for years. He said, how do you advertise gay wrestling? I said, well, you tell them they won't get fucked with or lynched at the show. He goes, huh? I go, gay wrestling fans have always been there.
Oh yeah.
trans, lesbian, bisexual, all of our sexual and gender minority people, they've always been fans, but they've had to participate from a distance. And we are giving them the go ahead and the green light and the protectionary area to say, you're welcome and valid here. And we want you to enjoy yourself and we want you to be entertained. And not only are you welcome here, so are people like you that are doing the same superhero things in front of you as all these white males that you've watched for so long dominating the industry. And anyone who gets frustrated by it, I think it's exciting because it means they have to keep up.
Yeah.
Competition.
They're being challenged with something new.
It breeds new art, it breeds new forms, it breeds new standards of what is entertainment because your audiences shift and get different and get bigger. And we are all approaching this respectfully. And so kind of taking the risk to be the loudest gay in the room with a knife in the front. I always say I cut the front of the vines in the jungle. I eat the sweetest fruits, but y'all have plenty to grab from behind me. Being that pointy, aggressive, in your face gay and opening that door to do these shows like Effy's Big Gay Brunch, which we just did our third Effy's Big Gay Brunch. I did another part of the 24-hour wrestling show that just highlighted LGBTQ talent. And now, as we look forward and we're able to do these shows more often and they are drawing really well and bringing people in, we are able to platform and change what is good wrestling in the industry by showing financially that we have support, we have these people, and it's not just a gimmick. People are seeking us out because of our wrestling skill. It's wonderful that they feel accepted, but they're starting to feel accepted in a lot more places. It's nice to feel highlighted and they want to jump in with us. They want to participate. They want to have hard wrestling as gay conversations in public. They want to support their favorite wrestler who doesn't look like the champion of yesterday looked like. And we are happy to get a platform at least to prove that when we're yelling, you should give us a chance. When you don't and we do it ourselves, we go, you should have given us a chance.
Absolutely. And we're doing this interview and probably a few weeks before it comes out. So for anyone who's not watching now, it's end of September. The Chris Canyon Dark Side of the Ring episode just came out last night. And for anyone who doesn't know Canyon, a lot of his mental health struggles a lot come from being in the closet and self-hating and things like that. And the big topic that was discussed about it was how he probably would have been seen as a hero or how he would have fit into the current scene today. And, kind of talk about how that dynamic has changed from Canyon having to hate himself in public to getting by to now being able to host wrestling as gay and Effy's Big Gay Brunch.
I think when you look at someone like Chris Canyon, who was very good at professional wrestling, I think of it in the sense of people who have come in and they've known abusers within the industry. They've been abused by people, or they've been treated poorly, or been bullied in a place. Wrestling is something you have to give 100% of yourself. When you're in that ring, if you're not here 100%, if you're not here 100%, if your body is not ready, if you're not stretched, but if your mind is not ready, there's no way you can give the best performance possible. And I think, beyond all the trauma that a lot of women's wrestling had to deal with, what they're dealing with now too is, hey, how do we give 100% of ourselves to something that keeps hurting us, that keeps pushing back on us, that keeps disrespecting us? And I imagine with Chris Canyon, as good as you keep it to yourself, you're never 100% yourself. You're never 100% allowed to be. And in an environment that is that macho, there's a lot probably going on that's just hateful and hurtful, but it is casual because even if it was targeted, even if there was targeted stuff, it's always going to be brushed off in the sense of, oh, we're just ribbing him, or we're playing around, or this or this.
Wasn't hate.
Right. But I always tell people, space seems a really long way away, but it turns out right here is infinite inward. And when you go inward on yourself and you look inside of yourself and you go inside, it can never end when you are thinking and you are stuck and you are anxious and you are feeling like you are being attacked at all angles, and the paranoia that builds. I'm glad he gave himself to wrestling, but I am glad now that he doesn't have to anymore. I imagine that Canyon would have been a so much bigger superstar if he was 10 years ahead of where he was even. Yeah. And that's not even now, but it is so sad that someone gives so much of themselves until they don't have anything left to give. When I give all of myself in the ring and I leave, I still have an intact person here that I don't have to go upstairs and pretend anymore once I'm out of that ring, whatever that pretending may be. I am able to sit on the couch and be a homosexual man and call my boyfriend, and I'm calling my boyfriend, and he looks sexy, he's at the bar, and not feel like I'm going to be attacked or lynched or treated differently or lose my money or lose my bookings. It's just such a crazy mental thing to tackle. And I'm glad we're all kind of re-examining our legends these days and holding them to task, because it doesn't matter what you did in wrestling. It doesn't matter what you did on TV. It doesn't matter what you did. If you are not able to be a good person, our new wrestling fans, the people coming in now, hold that in a high regard.
Absolutely.
And you know what? You can't just go out and have a great match and then come back and be a piece of shit, because we don't want it in our locker rooms, but they don't want it from their wrestlers. And they go, well, that's, you got to hold everyone to a moral high ground. And no, you got to hold everyone to a basic human standard now. And I think one thing I see more of now that is so cool is the amount of guys and girls in these locker rooms checking in on each other genuinely. And to just ask someone, hey, is everything okay? Hey, I remember this was going on with you. I remember this was happening. And it's not just a 1 or 2 person thing. We genuinely are. And we're checking.
It's a caring community in there.
Right. But that is because we have all felt weakness. We have all felt down. We've all felt, different versions of this. And we have seen what it does. I mean, we just lost Daphne, who I've known Daphne for years, and she's always been bubbly and wonderful and beautiful. And you don't know what people are dealing with. And if you aren't willing to take the emotional risk of going, hey, I do care about you, I want to make sure you're okay, no matter what that industry or business is, we're supposed to be big characters, but hey, man, as I say, everybody poops. We're all still emotional humans. We're all still have our weaknesses. There are things about us that are gross and terrible and are bummer. And we don't have to be superheroes all the time, and especially not for each other. And so I hope that if people are feeling the way Chris Kanyon is feeling, I hope that if people are feeling down, that like they don't feel afraid to come to someone and go, man, like I haven't felt good lately. I haven't felt great lately. Here are things that are on my mind. Because as you know, man, when you talk it out with other people, you gain perspective. When you talk it out with people who care about you, that are just going, well, suck it up, pal. You got to deal with this shit stuff sometimes.
Walking off.
It makes all the difference to have someone go like, I can't help you fix this right now, but I can tell you in 3 months, I promise it's not going to matter as much as you thought. Having those reminders, whether we know them or not, from other human beings, dude, it means the world. So please communicate with each other and accept each other. And I do think wrestling fans are willing, when things walk through the curtain, no matter how weird or strange or outrageous or dumb or crazy or violent, whatever it has been that comes through the curtain, wrestling fans typically are willing to give it a chance.
Yeah.
And I think if we can translate that same wrestling openness that's been fostered, that I think has always been there in a way, just because of how much weirdness we take in with a serious inflection.
Right.
If we can translate that out to the rest of the world, I mean, it is all wrestling. We're all playing our character.
Yep.
It's RuPaul. It's all naked until you're in drag, and we're choosing our drag and choosing our place in every moment in life. And someone tweeted the other day, they said, y'all think people are bragging when really they're just excited. And I think if we hear people and don't take it in negative or think we need to attack when things are good, and we are excited for each other, we're going to learn that you don't lose anything being excited for other people.
Absolutely.
It takes nothing from you. So
it's amazing when what is it? The tides lift all boats, or butchering it, but something to that effect.
And there's no limit on good. When something good happens over here, subconsciously we go, well, no, it's not going to happen over here. No, there's so much good happening.
It's going to manifest when it's out there.
Yeah, it's a snowball of good if you really are lifting each other up. I know this turned into a real raise each other up, but like we should. We're all on a freaking rock in space, man. I'm sick of the meanness.
Absolutely, man. And the gist of this podcast is to go in different waves with show the nuanced view of you as well. So although we do have some hate, we were going to bring up Matt Cardona a little more, but you know what? We're starting to wind down. So if you want to bring him up, go for it. But let's bring up something that's really good before we bring it in and talk about cannabis and you to close this out here. You've got some of the best merchandise out there. Obviously, that fits into your whole brand of building it out. One of my favorites is the Effy Award. Can you kind of talk about, what that is for people who don't know and some of the reaction you got from it? Because it is a pretty unique piece of merchandise.
I like to look at merchandise not only just in terms of, okay, well, I can make a few dollars if I make a shirt, or I can make a few dollars if I print a picture. I want to think about it in terms of how people communicate and sort of, this sounds crazy, but like a subliminal advertising where I can get better advertising out of people who are genuinely excited about something I'm doing and want to talk about it at later times after they've purchased or worn it a few times, where there's excitement to explain it to other people. And so I started by seeing these Funko Pops, right? Like they're Funko Pops, they're cool. Everybody wanted one. They were starting to do the custom ones. Everyone's painting them. I said, well, those look like toys. I said, what looks serious? And I kept seeing these presidential busts or, Julius Caesar or whoever as these marble busts. And I said, man, this would be cool. And I kind of looked it up and I thought about it. And I said, well, I don't want to just sell a statue of myself. And I kind of went all out. I found the production people. I had the molds made. I had the production done of these Funko Pop size bust statues. But I said, historically, I've tried to do things with a story where there's excitement to participate, where there's something to explain, where like you get it when I explain it in a better sense than if you just got it.
Right.
And so I said, well, we'll turn them into awards. But I said, they're going to be like every other award, like the Grammys, like the Oscars, like the Emmys, like the Tonys, like the ESPYs, the ESPN, like every other award, they're going to be bribe based. And I said that publicly. And so what they were doing by purchasing the award, there was a deluxe pack that had a lot of fun stuff, like a condom, because you were going to get over, brother, if you had an Effy award. A custom Effy condom. There's these packages where they're purchasing it technically, but they are bribing me. And then if they get the deluxe package, I am signing the certificate of authenticity that they've won this award. Once they've won the award, it's not just a toy they purchased. So Effy is validating whatever you want to be awarded for. And so they started submitting videos accepting their Effy awards. And I hosted a Twitch stream where I am being paid by putting up everyone's acceptance awards that they created because they paid me to get these awards through bribery. So I was making money from the statues, but I was also making money on the story. And then I was respreading more of it to the point where now there is more of a demand. The other day, Matt Cardona said, do you have a figure? He likes action figures and toys. Yeah. So I don't have a figure, but I do have an Effy award, which you have to earn. You have to win. You have to be validated by me to get it. And there's none left.
And you can buy his toy at any store.
At any store. Well, not anymore. It's been about a decade.
Sorry, man.
But I said, hey, where do you display your Effy award? I asked Twitter that. And the amount of people tweeting, they were on their mantle, on their fireplace, on their display shelves, near their bed, at their desk. This is something that everyone had on display in their homes. It didn't look corny like a lot of wrestling merch. It didn't look cheap and tacky like a Funko Pop. Sorry, y'all. It looked like an award. It looked like a thing. And it sparks conversation at much later times of what's up with this little statue trophy? Well, there's this wrestler. And I want to have things like that that continually excite you. I love the Wrestling is Gay stuff now, not just because like we've donated a lot of money this year to Lost and Found Youth in Atlanta, an LGBTQ charity. They do housing, they do job training, they do clothing. They do a lot of things for LGBTQ people, especially in our urban area in Atlanta that need a lot of help. And the inner city of Atlanta has a lot of people who are cherished for being queer, cherished for being different, but there's also a lack of real help and treatment in a lot of ways. And so helping the LGBTQ community where I am and where I'm at by making silly shirts that make people go, wait, wrestling is, what are you wearing? What is this? What's going on here? We're having good conversations about the LGBTQ community, but we're also helping them. And I'm independent. I don't need permission from my boss. I don't need permission from the company. I don't need them to say, we don't want to take a political stance here. You know, our broadcasting doesn't want to take it. I get to just do it. And our distribution has shifted so much with the social media, with the way we interact, with Twitch getting to, I did a show one day that did 260,000 people in 2 hours on Twitch, and NXT that night did 650,000. And I said, something's not adding up. I know they make more on TV commercials than I do on my Twitch, but I am able to reach half as many people as you. And you really had to earn that spot for a lot of years to be able to do that. And I came in like a chaos tornado. They're not accepting that it has changed already. They're not accepting that things have already shifted. Now they're trying to fight back on it. And I want to make sure that they're held to task. I don't win by participating with these big conglomerates and corporations. I win by participating in Effy and having them follow suit. If I can make the decision by teaching a wrestler how to make money the way I make money, when they come and say, here's a bullshit contract that isn't much, but what else are you going to do? And everyone's going to see you. Now they're going to have to come back with more. Now they're going to have to come back with a little bit of, hey, here's things that Effy taught me that I should be asking you. Here's things that are normal in business and in jobs that I should be bringing up that they would never know otherwise. And when they are brought to the level, forced by almost literally their own game, which is, you know, capitalism. When I can force the hand of capitalism in a way that they haven't, you know, they've had full control over for so long, they are going to have to be better. And in the end, everyone in wrestling gets treated better if you're forced on that hand. Exactly. If you're saying, hey, well, this used to be the only option, but Effy's got some things over here. It's not that you shouldn't sign the contract or go with them or do what your heart tells you, but you should hold them to the basics, hold them to task, and you should understand how much money they make because what they're telling you will never be as much as they're going to make on you, and you won't make that back. But you should at least know how good that ratio should be.
Maximize that return. Absolutely. So we're going to get one last question. We'll quick hit you on cannabis, but you brought up a good point on merchandise, and I want to just get this one last one. Why is so much wrestling merchandise banned and only a black t-shirt available? Why is that message not gotten across from you and maybe Danhausen and a few others that have done it better?
So what I have found is that wrestlers make shirts that either, number one, serve their ego because they like the art of themselves in a weird way, or no one's ever made art of them before, and so they get excited. And also, wrestlers don't always have the highest taste level yet, unfortunately. Now, my show, the merch is beautiful.
Right.
My LGBTQ people, the merch is beautiful. Edith Surreal, she is a lovely wrestler. Go look up her merch. She is designer heaven. Edith Surreal does the coolest merch. But a lot of them are dorks. A lot of them are dweebs. And instead of thinking of what is cool that people wear and want to wear, they approach it with their same cheesy shit. They overpay for dumb shit. They don't understand how screen printing works. So they don't understand how t-shirt art works. So it looks tacky. It looks terrible. It's bad ripoffs. It's inside jokes. It's stuff that they only understand. And then they're going, well, I sold a few shirts. And I'm going, but you could have sold more if your merch didn't suck. Right. Our fan base wants to support us. We are at a smaller level than a WWE. They want to support us in any way they can, and they will. But when guys find out that if their merch looks good and looks wearable, and if they understand, hey, a t-shirt design and a poster design are two different things. Hey, an enamel pen design and a Twitter profile banner design are two different things. Hey, you have to print in high quality so you don't get JPEGs on it. When they start to get this stuff figured out, it makes all the difference in the world, because they go, I was making money and now I'm making money. Because someone who said, man, I really want to support them, but I've already bought a shirt before and their shirts are not great. It's the same shit over and over. And I really don't wear that one I have. I wish I could give it more, but like if they're coming up to you and just handing you a $5 and going, don't worry, just keep it. Like you're not doing well. So just, someone just gave me $5 because they felt bad.
They want to support you, but they don't want to wear your stuff.
Yeah, because you want them to come back too when you have something new, when things are changing, when you have that longevity where your fans are going to come back to you. Make sure that they're getting a return on something that they want to wear, an item they want to use, something that is cool. With Wrestling is Gay, we just did utility trays. They're rolling trays, right. But they support the brand that Wrestling is Gay. People want to talk about them, and they're useful. Yeah. People need rolling trays. People love having a good rolling tray. Has a nice edge. I picked that out specifically. But I'm providing value, and you're getting to support. So why not meet them and double up on what they're getting back?
Yeah, get the value from. You're the second interview I've had in a row where someone had mentioned that earlier. I was like, get mouse pads, get like all these sort of things for your office supplies.
People need.
Yeah, exactly.
And want to use and are going to get value from it. They go, oh man, I've been using this mouse pad for 2 years. It's been great. Haven't had any worries, and I get to look, and it makes me happy when I see that cool moment.
100%. Yeah. So we know you got a lot going on. So I don't want to tie you up.
I gotta go handle some business here.
I know. Can't wait for it. Gonna quick hit you here. Going to talk about some cannabis stuff. Want to rattle off some questions on a percentage scale. How much would you say the wrestling community these days on the independent scene is using cannabis for medication or recreation?
I don't want to out anybody, but I do want to say that, like, thank God it's cannabis now, because the things that were keeping wrestlers out of pain were a lot different. And I think guys are being mind to their body. They're trying to stay a little healthier. I think like the edible revolution has been great for guys who are wrestling 4 or 5 times a weekend. They're so sore. They're so beat up. They don't want to smoke. They don't want to mess with their lungs. They don't want to mess that up. But they're able to use that, not in a way that's like, oh, bounce, woo, but it's like my neck doesn't feel as tight and I can check myself. I can go through the stretches a little easier. I don't have to worry about the swelling as much. I have to wrestle tomorrow. Let me get a moment to cool back. And you're not reliant on, oh man, well, he felt bad and had to take downers. It's 98, get some somas. He's coming off. We're able to go, hey man, if you take 2 of these, feel yourself out. If you need one more, if they're 10 milligrams. And we're able to ease ourselves into going, are we good? Am I all right? Cool ourselves out of that adrenaline and say, this is a way I can kind of manage the pains that are going to generally come with this. I mean, if you're not injured, you're sore. And sore is good in wrestling.
Right.
If you're not sore, you're not working, or you're injured, or, it's like, if you're sore, it's good. Right, of course. And my back is a callus now. So the soreness is different, but you still have moments where you go, let me check in. Let me make sure this knee's not too tight. Let me make sure my elbow's going to go okay. And having that little bit of,
are you using,
makes it so much easier.
Are you using topicals, or are you strictly with edibles?
I love the topicals. I've used the topicals a lot on my neck. I got a Theragun recently. I had to put the money down on it. And using the topicals, letting that sit, and having my boyfriend do the Theragun on that is, you find the spots that like it just loosens everything. It's fantastic.
Nice. And how often of the day are you consuming? Do you have THC?
Well, don't give away everything.
Okay.
Very casually, of course.
Okay, very casually. Cool. And then last thing I'd like to ask people here before turning it over to you, what is something that we might not know about Effy if we just from following you on social media?
Here's one, and it always sounds pompous in my head, but I need people to understand that like I have been a people person forever. I'm not faking being a people person. I stood in here last night later than anyone, just taking pictures with every person who wanted to. I talk to people. I love it. I was in high school. I tied for Mr. Personality, but I was also not the valedictorian speaker, but the entertainment speaker for my entire high school graduation.
Oh.
And they were hella nervous about what I was going to do because I was a little unpredictable, but I won the vote count. They voted me to talk, and boom, I killed it. I roasted it. And I've always felt like, yeah, I'm an entertainer, but also like, what is entertainment other than like finding relativity, finding moments, sharing information, and growing together as people through sort of like that resonates, that does that. It sounds big brain to say it that way, but like I like entertaining because I think we're all a part of the same conscious universe, and communication is an incredible way for us to understand ourselves.
Damn right it is. Well, Effy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For the people that now want to follow you after all this, where should they be following you, and what should be on the lookout for?
Well, if you're tired of watching the TV wrestling, Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is the same time as the other show on cable, I host an independent wrestling show on Twitch every Monday. I come home from a weekend of wrestling. I'm crazy. I'm wild. I've been beat up. And we watch independent wrestling the whole time. It's really fun. Twitch.tv/Effy Lives. And the easiest way to remember Effy Lives is it used to be Kill Effy, which number one, not good for Twitter censorship because they don't want people saying kill, but also they couldn't kill me. The corporate guys that told me to stop couldn't kill me. The guys who said I was blacklisted couldn't kill me. The dudes who didn't think I was worth the money or think I could wrestle couldn't kill me. Effy Lives. EFFY Lives. That's Twitter, Instagram. Pro Wrestling Tees has a lot of merchandise, but also right now, the big relaunch, my focus at the moment, merchandise-wise, wrestling is .gay. And .gay is like .com. So wrestling is .gay is the website. That merch is aggressive wrestling merch. We have some pins, we have flags, we have shirts. We're about to get big drag queen fans. I'm very excited.
Very nice.
But that money also, portions of that money go to support LGBTQ charities. So check that out. It's exciting. The E is for fantastic. The E can't be for fantastic.
Nope.
Cut that part. Let me redo
Keeping
this.
it.
Effy. The E is for electric. The F is for fantastic. And the rest is fuck you.
On that note, Effy, thank you so much.
Hell
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Thank you.
That was my interview with Effy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you also enjoyed the non-split screen format. I should have mentioned that in the intro, but you know what? We wing these things, and after about 6 or 7 takes, we just go with what's the best. And that's what happened there. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope you took away a lot of advice from Effy in terms of business, brand development, and just connecting with your audience. I think it's really a great interview, and I hope you thought so too. I really appreciate him, especially touching on you're being true to your identity and why it's so important, and how honestly you probably won't find success until you can really be happy with yourself and accepting yourself. So like you said, with him, we weren't trying to turn this into a real feel good about yourself uplift episode, but damn it, it turned into that one, and you also got some business tips. So I hope you liked it as much as I did. We got some more episodes coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm recording them at the moment, so I don't know who's going to be coming up. Might be jumbling those orders around. I'm going to be at MJ Biz, but that's probably actually already happened after I say this one, so maybe I'll have interviewed some people there, but don't look for me there because this will have been in the past, unless you're Doctor Who. Then if that's the case, hit me up. I'm trying to ride in that TARDIS, bro. Or lady, or whatever gender alien doctor is. I don't know. Anyway, Doctor Who stuff, talking about wrestling. If I talk about hard, this is going to get into the nerd hole that YouTube might even ban me on. So I'm going to hop off here now. I want to say thank you so much to Effy, and I want to thank you all for listening. More episodes coming every Monday. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Contact me at IamAndrewWard.com if you want to get into do some work, journalism, branding, consulting, or whatever. Got some other stuff coming in the next few weeks. I'll be sure to let you know. But thank you all for now, and Talk to you soon.